Okay, time is 7:01. I'd like to call the January 9th, 2025 Budget Committee meeting to order. We can all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Bob, can you please start roll call?
Robert Kelly.
Karen Quinn.
Tim DeBrio.
Owen Fred Gray.
Jeffrey Morrison.
Sandra Jones.
Danielle Roy.
Charlotte Fife.
And Mike Kelly is excused this evening. Public comment. I do not see any members of the public, so we will move on.
Jill, yeah.
Oh, sorry, you're right. Jill is not here. Jill is out of town. That is right. Thank you very much. And
That's why you messed up on there.
you got me all Twitter pated. No, I'm good. Hopefully Jill was going to be able to call. I haven't seen a missed call from her. I think she was traveling today. She's out of the country, I believe. So she was hoping to try to make a call, but I haven't seen anything yet. So hopefully she'll be able to call in, and then Jill will be available by phone. But until then, we'll continue with the meeting. So we will move on to item 5, final school budget review. So, sorry, I was running late, so I'm catching up, but looks like we have some updated items that have been handed out. If you wouldn't mind going over maybe what's changed since last time?
Sure, the
the
front
background?
page, yeah, absolutely. The front page is basically the same what you had last time. The second page is just what the only change is. And the only change is an out-of-district high school placement. So you'll see that on page 2, but it's reflected in the first page and also the packet for all the budget expense lines. That is the single and only change between this week and last time.
Okay, and that appears to have gone up about 12,000?
Yes, I think it's $12,294.60.
I believe previously we had discussed that the anticipated move-ins or anticipated changes were less than they had been previously, but this looks like it's less than one of the tuitions to either of the high schools, so I'm assuming this is some sort of rate adjustment?
It is,
or-
well, actually, there's multiple students that were, placements that were involved. Some
Oh,
people
okay.
moving out, some people coming in, and what their requirements are different. So that's why it's not like a flat
Gotcha.
number or a more reasonable number in that case.
Yeah.
But it is lower than what it would be for just one individual student.
Yes, yeah, 12,294, I believe individual students are running roughly on the 19 to 20 range at the moment. So this is more of a need-based, does this,
Yes, it is needs-based, it's special education.
yeah, I was about to say, does that fall into the special education category, which I would need to find within my packet, but we can go over that in a second. Anything else within the packet that you'd like to present to us,
No.
highlight?
No, so it's the same packet
Review.
as you had before, which is new numbers. Got your familiar-looking tax rate page, what it looked like if it was, default budget, proposed budget, and then home valuations with the assessed value, what it would roughly look like. That was not there last time, I said I would bring it in this meeting, and here you go.
Excellent, appreciate that. So it's looking like impact per 1,000, which I'm assuming what that bottom number is there, the 1,504.
Yeah, that would be
That'd be
the,
the default.
yeah,
And then as proposed, 1,557
that's correct.
per 1,000. Oh, there it is, it's summarized on the top. I
Yep.
see it. Excellent. If there's nothing else at the moment that you guys are interested in highlighting, then I will open it up to the board. Tonight, just a reminder to everybody as to our goals here tonight and what we're looking to do. Tonight's our final review and vote prior to presentation of the budgets to the public for the public meetings that are scheduled for next week. I believe I don't have my
Next Thursday.
Thursday for the school, correct, and
It is.
Tuesday is the town. Thank you. So this would be, tonight would be looking for a vote from the Budget Committee for a recommendation for or against the proposed budget as is. So with that, I'll open it up to the board. If there are any specific questions, if there are any items in particular that we want to look at in advance, or excuse me, not in advance, but sort of in totality, I would say, major, maybe overall things before we start looking at the detailed levels.
A quick question.
Yeah.
Page 1, 5211, health insurance teacher. It looked like it went down. Is that correct? Remember I asked before how much insurance went up?
So, yeah, so the reason it went down is, the very first meeting, we didn't have an agreement in place for the change in health insurance with the CBA for the teachers, so we put a placeholder number there as the maximum
Max,
number.
yeah, I remember
Yep,
that.
so the reason why it went down is because we found an agreement with them, and it lowered the district portions.
Would you mind just summarizing what that agreement was?
I'll speak more to that one. It was for the health insurance.
Yes.
It was part of the CBA agreement is they had a change in health insurance plan. One of the plans it was by name in the CBA went away.
Oh,
So we had to
okay.
get a replacement plan. And the replacement plan, cost is very similar to another plan that they already have in the CBA. So it was working out the details about the cost, what share goes to what.
So the new plan is roughly 1%, it looks like, less than the old plan. Okay,
Yep.
understood.
And then the pairs went up.
Yes,
I'm
it is a
sorry.
good thing.
Next line down, they went up 270% though. Is that correct?
What page you on again?
Same one, just next line down, 5211.
Bob?
Oh, the health insurance paraprofessionals.
Pardon me?
What lines?
Oh, 5211, page 1, health
the next
insurance
page.
paraprofessional.
Next line.
Yeah, there's two
It's
page
the-
ones.
it's-
Oh, you're
Page one of
The
the
second one,
expenses.
yes.
Page one of the
Yeah, I got a little,
expenses.
yeah, I saw that too. I'm like,
I wish I could do more
I should have
about
said that.
No
second
worries,
page
it's
one.
all right. So just for everybody's clarification, the first page in the budget summary is just revenues. And then the following probably 30-something pages, whatever.
38.
38 pages. Not that Bill's looked at this a lot recently, but the following 38 pages are the expenditures.
So the 270.86% increase, as you mentioned, is because of the two proposed kindergarten paraprofessionals that we have in the budget. And,
Oh, okay.
yep, and there was also a placement change from the staff from one year to the next year, so that's, that helps with the cost looking higher. Same people, just one person was a special education para, went to regular ed, and the regular education para went to special ed, or student services, so.
Okay, because their health insurance is somewhere else in the budget than for special ed. Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
that's in the 1200s.
All right, thank you.
So there's some offsetting.
It is.
Gotcha.
It nets out. And then you add the two extra positions that we're
Yep.
proposing.
Yep, that makes sense. I'm gonna apologize and excuse myself for just a half second. I'm gonna call Jill and see if I can get a hold of her. But please continue.
Can I ask a warrant article question? Sue, just in capital reserve, one of the things we talked about was HVAC repairs and replacements with a potential for $300,000 warrant article. Are you guys going forward with that?
The $300,000
Yeah,
warrant article?
yes.
So we've got 300 in there, but the balance right now, I think, is 199. So
Okay.
we put 300 into the CIP.
Yep.
So we're gonna put the difference in a warrant article. That's our intention.
Okay, so the only reason I was asking was because on the warrant,
You don't see,
oh, did I miss it? Okay.
well, there's the one for the school board, not school board, the building repairs, but the one specific for the HVAC is not in there yet, because I didn't know the placement of it, where it's gonna be. Is it gonna be
Okay.
on?
That's what I was
We're
looking
gonna
for.
put the HVAC,
Yeah, no, that's
the
fine.
stuff that's in the CIP, we're gonna roll into the building repair.
Right, and that's gonna be a conversation that we're gonna have on Monday as well. So some of these numbers for the warrant articles are fluid. We have another meeting set for Monday to go over the warrant articles to make sure that we know that if it's gonna be coming out of unreserved fund, or if it's gonna be a warrant article, and then also the order of the warrant articles as well.
Okay. Yeah, I was just,
Yeah, we're definitely, we want the 300 in there. We've got 200 now.
okay,
So we're gonna put 100 in,
okay, I just wanted to make sure that we were still in sync.
we're still in sync.
Okay, good.
Like, that's why when you look at the warrant article pages, you'll see some articles, there's no numbers next to them, because we don't know the order of where they're gonna be.
Okay, yeah, yeah,
You see it's all in gray because we,
Subject to
Those are fluid.
change.
okay.
the placeholders to know that we have to adjust those.
And the very last one is for a project manager, but we reached out to the attorney to get some wording on how to word that one.
Do we know what the balances are in those
Capital, re-
warrant, capital reserve?
yep, they're on there.
Oh,
I put them all in the warrants right now, those are actuals.
okay. It's gotta be somewhere in here.
There you go.
Oh, okay,
Yep.
thank you.
So in article number blank,
Yeah.
where it says anticipated deposit of 50,000 from unreserved and anticipated withdrawal of 65,000 for HVAC repairs, that's separate from what
What's on the
the status is.
CIP?
Right?
Yeah.
That is separate, yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Because that's happening in this fiscal year.
Which one is he?
That would be, this one here would be on the, I guess it would be the third page.
What's
Oh,
that?
I meant, wrong line, wrong page.
This is the CIP we had done, broken that out as separate.
Yes, right here.
Originally had like air handlers.
It'd be on the second page, the second one from the top.
Collapsed it all under HVAC.
That's the building repair.
Right, so it's gonna have to be a little bit more than 100, because we pulled the full 3, we've got 199 in there right now, so we'll work that a little bit more. We don't wanna deplete it completely. And then the other question that we have is, given the balance in our budget right now, there will be sufficient unassigned balance to fund these, as we had talked about at CIP, so we may have to actually just put these in as not coming from unassigned fund balance, but, so they would raise and appropriate and have a tax impact.
Why was that again?
Because right now, being in a default budget and having the additional cost that we've experienced with the school, with the HVAC system, in addition to an additional 100,000 in move-in high school, the budget's under pressure and may not have enough unassigned fund balance to fund.
So, correct me if I don't explain this correctly, but like, they're on a, they don't have like a general fund like
So it
we
comes from
do.
the town.
Correct. Right, so they basically
It's the prior
fund
year.
stuff through whatever.
So whatever we
whatever's
don't
left over,
use in the
basically.
operating budget,
Whatever
typically
left
that's
over.
the language that rolls into our warrant articles from unassigned fund balance. We are allowed, because we are different from the municipality, we can retain based on some state laws if the voters have agreed to it, so we can retain, and we did retain 200,000. But it's a little different, you only really use that if you're totally on the edge, it's a high need situation, so just normal operating budget, we'd have to live with what is left over, and then they fund things in order.
That's why the order matters.
That's why the order is important, yes,
Yes.
because
There's
if
no numbers
Right.
on these.
you want to be able to fund it, so
Yep.
if we can only do a partial fund if it's not, if we don't have
Yep.
enough to cover it.
So right now, we're anticipating, what, $700,000 balance, but not everything is encumbered, and we certainly haven't finished with the heating system and what may come with that. And we are looking to get somebody in to kind of spearhead a project to just hone in on this instead of this finger in the dike situation that we have. So there's gonna be costs there. So we're very cognizant of our budget. That's our biggest issue right now.
And do we know what the difference is between the two budgets from last year, this year, the percentage?
It's on the bottom left one.
Yeah.
Bottom of the very first page. Yeah, the one
Somewhere.
you're writing on.
Oh, this one.
Down.
Okay. So 3.16.
tax impact. And then the percentage increase is 3.03,
You say 313?
3.03.
It's higher than that.
So if you look at that second, the net expenditures,
But the whole total budget is 3.13% over last year. But then we add in whatever revenues we're gonna be getting, such as indirect costs have changed and stuff like that. So that's where the net expenditures come to 3.03%. So the expense budget total is 3.13% over. Then we add in the additional revenues, the changes in revenues from last year's budget, brings it down to 3.03% increase. But then we add in the adequate aid and the swept aid, statewide education property tax, and then we factor that with the district assessment. That's where the 3.16% comes in.
So, getting back to everybody else who potentially has lost his name, which page are we looking at? Because I was trying to find that
The very
in.
first page.
Okay, that page, thank you.
Proposed budget.
Got it.
it says
The summary
proposed
page.
budget,
I see. Thank you.
January
Very
8th.
bottom.
I was trying to find it in the details. I got it now.
Yep.
So that's just a summary, and then you have the full budget behind it.
Got it, thank you.
There's so many different ways someone can interpret what a budget looks like, so I figured that covers pretty much everybody's point of view.
Thank you.
Best that I could, anyway.
Any other fundamental questions or large-scale questions at this point?
Just, I'm sorry, tell me one more time. When you take this proposed budget and then you add in the warrant articles, what percent are we at?
I didn't add in the warrant articles because those aren't final numbers.
Yeah, they might pass, they might not pass.
Exactly.
Can't.
So I can roughly say just about $8,300 is about a penny on the tax rate.
So.
I think it's a good question.
It is a good
What
question.
I'm just thinking, are we gonna be in around the 4%, or where do you think we're gonna end up?
If you'd max this out like you did the healthcare, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I understand what you're saying.
But
Like worst possible case.
if the warrant articles are funded through unassigned fund balance, then there won't be
Any
Right,
impact.
okay.
a tax impact on
But
it.
you're saying all of them will be?
No.
No, right.
Just look
So
at it.
that's what I'm saying.
So when we
Of
come-
those that aren't,
Warrants look like about 250,000, roughly 240,000. You said it was, what, a penny per eight?
Penny for 8,300.
So it's $1 for 800 and.
Anybody got the calculator?
8,000.
Thank you.
So
no.
He's the man right here.
it would be less than
She's in the
50
pocket
cents
yet.
per
Hold on a
thousand.
second.
Yeah.
You said 8 cents?
No,
No, a
8,300 for each penny.
So 24, so 30 cents?
Yeah, so it's,
Speaking.
I think it's easier to just think 844,203, so for every 844,000, that's $1.
Yeah.
You cut that in half to 400, you're at 50 cents, and if you cut that in half again, you're at 25.
That is not easier.
I
usually
absolutely
I think that
love
makes
the way
it-
everybody does mental math and how it is different for every single human being on the
Sue is too
planet.
smart for me when it comes to math, but I think,
I think we're looking at about 30 cents.
so I think what Karen's looking for, what I agree with is like, we know with the town, with the operating budget and the warrant articles, it was 3.82% increase. And that's, we're looking for that one clean
Exactly.
number from
Number.
the school.
Right.
Yep.
So if we're
Final,
asked, we
final
can
number, if they
say-
go, we wanna see what,
Yeah.
We can say
how
we
it's gonna
stayed
impact
at
the
4%
taxpayers,
or lower.
more or less,
I mean, they don't have the tax, but they've always,
if they all pass.
but they,
No, but
Yeah.
someone,
Try to respect it.
yeah,
exactly.
That was a lot of our thinking, was instead of putting some of these items into the operating budget, was
So
to let
we-
the taxpayers vote on them.
About 32
oh, we get
cents.
that.
Yeah, oh,
Yeah,
absolutely. I'm
Yeah.
just looking for the percent at the end of the day.
So it'd be about 32 cents per thousand.
Okay. and-
So you add that to the 3.16%, so it ends up being about 3.4.
3.4, okay, so that's a good number for us to know.
Yeah.
That is, yeah.
I'll be honest, I wasn't anticipating that question, but I will remember for next time.
Bottom line number is gonna be what people most care about.
Exactly.
It's
It's usually
true.
what
They
you
will.
hear about, unfortunately, even though we love to get into the details, and I'm sure you do as well.
Best case, worst case, middle, where it's gonna hit.
So we're gonna hold you to that 1 year from now.
I'll have it, don't you worry. You got the one page this year, so I remember that from last time.
And I do think, and I know we talked about it at the last meeting, is having this like 2 meetings ago would be helpful.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah,
we got
exactly.
hearing a week from tonight, then,
We're having an earlier conversation about warrant article.
right,
And we're supposed to vote on this tonight.
no, next.
No, just on whether or not
Next week,
this operating budget is what goes
Okay.
forward, yeah.
So,
However, I do believe this needs to be posted for 5 days, or is it 7?
by Tuesday, it has to be posted by
By
Tuesday.
Tuesday? Okay. So you will have this done by Tuesday because you're meeting Monday.
Well, actually, we have to post it by Thursday, but I have to submit it to the DRA on Tuesday, so I figure we gotta get that done. Why not post it at the same time?
Oh,
Thursday.
Thursday?
So if it's $240,000, it
Does
is,
it have to be in advance of the
You don't
hearing?
have to have
Sorry.
advance.
I think we're thinking
Our
about
deadline
special
is
warrant
Tuesday.
articles are the 14th. Special warrant
Oh.
articles are the 14th, but there's different, where is that?
What's the date?
There are different
Warrant articles is
dates,
We,
For the budget
we
committee.
checked the dates out last night.
Okay.
but it turns out those are special warrant articles that are due on
But
the
for the public
14th.
hearing,
But there are
doesn't have-
different
everything have to
postings
be
for the budget
posted
hearing.
But
prior
by,
to the
we
public
need
hearing,
it by
both
Monday.
operating budget
We can
and
have our
warrant
meeting
articles.
Monday.
Because otherwise, how else do people find out about it?
I did.
I think
So-
it's posted with the meeting, right, the day before.
so I think if we're looking at roughly, say if it was $240,000, it would bring the estimated tax impact, which would be the very bottom number, from 3.16 to 5.05%.
Wait, say that again?
Okay, that's a lot more. 3.45 point.
So if it was $240,000
Yeah.
with the proposed budget, it would go from 3.16% to 5.05%.
With the,
Right.
with the warrant articles?
That's if the warrant articles are $240,000 total.
That doesn't make any sense, though. You're almost doubling the tax rate impact with only $200,000.
I think some would hit and some wouldn't.
If you just take the number and
Divide some by
divide it
1,000
into the
right?
844,203, you should get the,
And then multiply that by 1,000, that's
Yeah.
where you get 32 cents.
So here.
Because I think we'd be here until midnight tonight if that was gonna be the case.
Exactly, yes, exactly.
It's not.
so what do you vote on tonight? I'm unfamiliar with, is that a different thing? We used to always just vote at the budget hearing.
See, this was about, I just looked at the difference between the default budget and new budget. And, I mean, this number 3.16 is right. I mean, looking about 500,000 would be 3%. You know what I mean? That's the difference. Plus 240, so 3, it would be 5 point, yeah, I agree with you.
So
It would be
240 is,
5.05%.
240 is 28 cents.
Yeah, no, I agree with you.
I got 4.1%.
Now, quick question, I don't know if this is true. Now,
So hold on, let's just get back to this number, because this is fairly critical. I took the, total operating budget proposed, 17,033, right?
Yep.
Added the 240,000 to that,
Yep.
and then divided that by 16,587, which is the default, roughly speaking. I'm assuming that is roughly last year's budget. That might be a bad assumption, but it's what I got for data in front
It
of me.
is last year's budget with contracted increases like CBAs, transportation, that's a
Yeah.
contract.
How much is that, do you know?
Not off the top of my head.
Okay,
No.
so that might be the difference. Do you have, in my math is all I'm saying, do you have last year, last year's approved budget number offhand?
And
The-
I'm sorry, I think we're talking about two different numbers.
Yeah, we are.
Are we?
We're talking about estimated tax impact versus
Yes.
dollar impact.
Correct, but the dollar impact
Right.
is what the
5%.
percentage
Yes.
based on.
That's 5%, but the estimated tax impact would actually be 32 cents, which brings it to below 4%. To total between the operating budget and the warrants.
So the 3.2 tax impact is what we care about.
I believe so.
Yes.
I mean, I don't think you're
I
gonna
thought it was
propose a
the bottom
budget that's
number
gonna
of
be
the budget.
5% over year, but if it's a dollar amount of 5%, but the tax impact is less than 4,
Correct.
This is what was.
But that dollar amount doesn't
So
take
that
into
4%
effect their revenues. offsetting revenues, right?
And then, so
that the
that's the
difference?
number that they're
Nope,
looking
that would
for.
include the
Approved by
offset.
the voters last year.
No, but I agree in terms of how you're saying how we calculate tax impact on the town and making sure we're looking at apples to apples.
The total budget's
That
45.
includes a revenue increase in that
budget.
proposed, right?
Yeah.
That's the piece I'm missing. Understood.
Right.
Yeah,
Yep.
Does that make sense?
basic math.
Makes
So,
sense? Because we're talking about dollar amount versus the tax.
so apologies, let me step back and try to summarize this to less confuse everybody than I already am. I was looking at total budget number,
Yep.
which is not accurate because that includes a revenue increase. The revenue increase is not calculated into the increase to be raised by taxes. So you need to back out the revenue piece. The quickest way we can do that with the numbers in front of us is to look at the estimated tax impact as associated with the Article 2
This is the budget right here.
underneath, because
That's
the
the number.
article, the estimated tax impact has already backed out the revenues, comparing last year's to this year's revenues, external revenues as opposed to the revenue associated with tax. So that's where I was throwing everybody off. Apologies for that, I didn't think of it. But if you look at the 1557 and then add the 32 cents and divide that by the 1504, which is, I believe, the math you just did, Tim, that gets us to, you said,
3.4.
It's like
3.4%, okay. So the estimated increase to be raised by taxes is roughly 3.4%. The overall budget increase is higher, but that is because we are getting increased external revenues.
So that's the same way we did the town. We looked at the increase for the town. So
Yes.
again, just.
Just trying to make sure,
Yep,
okay, so
perfect.
I threw everybody off, my apologies. Did that explanation make any sense to anybody?
Yeah,
Yes.
Okay,
yeah.
excellent. You good, Jeff?
If,
You're about to ask a question, so I'm feeling it. What do you got?
it does to me, but there aren't final figures with the warrants, so we,
Right, we're assuming,
Theoretically,
we're
can't
assuming all the
calculate
warrants are
that.
gonna pass.
But
max.
if you add up the number for all of these warrant articles right now, and some of them they're assuming are coming from unreserved fund balance, worst case scenario, none of them come from, and they're all raised by taxation.
Yeah.
That's that 33 cents, 34 cents, that's where that number comes from.
32.
Which would be 3.4.
Right.
Right,
So worst case scenario.
that's the worst. Okay.
The worst case scenario is you got another warrant article in here that's over $300,000. That's the worst case scenario. Does that make sense, Jeffrey?
Yep. Yeah, it does.
Okay. So now that we're all on the same page, are there any large-scale fundamental items that people would like to review as part of this budget? I say that in trying to keep everybody in mind of the fact that individual budget items are within the purview of the school board and the superintendent's office, and probably in consult with the principal, so I don't know 100% of the machinations here. However, they can move in between independent items. So the conversations we had last Thursday about the town budget, I drove those conversations in the way I did because I wanted to see something going into the road maintenance item. Because in my mind, at the time, that was changing from a 0 to a substantial number. Before we go through and talk about anything and try to nitpick individual line items, I would like to get a sense of the board if they feel that there's anything within this budget that they think is either zeroed out or should be zeroed out. Because from the budget committee's perspective, that is what we would have some sort of say necessarily, ultimate say or control over. We can certainly, and I'm happy to open the floor to a discussion afterwards, but I would like to get that fundamental piece out. And I will start by saying, I have gone through this budget, I have looked at all the different items several times now, and we all have. There are no items in this particular budget that I feel either should be changed from 0 or need to be zeroed out. So for me, and the perspective of what I'm seeing in front of me, I don't have any substantive comments, on this particular budget. I am comfortable with it as presented, with the understanding that individual line items can move. So I would like to get a sense from the rest of the board if that's how they feel, or if there are particular items that they would like to look at. Just for everybody's sake here, I don't want to go line by line if there isn't an end goal that we're trying to go towards.
I'll weigh in. I've looked it over too. I'm just trying to remind myself of everything. I'm happy with the way everything looks. I have no other questions.
I agree, and I went over line by line, and I'm happy with it.
Same.
What was the tax rate?
I can't even do it. I don't even want to start it again. I'm gonna get so down the wrong
Sorry, I
path.
never asked the question.
It was a fantastic question. I apparently just can't do math. Real problematic for
The
my
big
job.
numbers, you're not even allowed to touch anyways. I mean, you can't do anything.
Right, it's contract.
That's
or
Only thing you have to do,
mandated.
only thing you do is cut the bottom line.
That's
and
the
then
other thing
force
about
them
the
to
school
change
budget,
it.
and that's a great point, Bob, that the other thing about the school budget is that so much of it is prescriptive, as opposed to the town budget, which is much more open-ended.
What do you think the percentage is of that, that really you have no control over, that is prescriptive? Because it's mandated or it's contract.
I'd love to see like a
gonna
pie chart
be
on that, but you figure
80-something
all of
percent,
your
I would imagine.
personnel
I'm
is
thinking at least
CBA
three-quarters.
driven.
Right.
Yeah, so I was thinking like 75, 80,
Yeah.
80%.
Oh, I think at least
80%, yeah.
80.
Oh,
Yeah.
All of your special education,
Yeah,
really.
exactly,
Basically, if it's a
do you think,
supply line, that's the only one that's kind of really more fluid.
yeah.
And if that's all we're looking at, there isn't a single, there isn't a single substantive supply line relative to the total bottom line budget. So it might even be 90 plus.
Right,
So
yeah.
I personally have to say that if given all of that, that you guys coming in at 3.4%, I
That's
think
kind of impressive, yeah.
is pretty good.
It is good.
It,
Yeah.
I think, very clearly highlights how much time, effort, and energy you guys put into this, which we do appreciate. Especially with the ongoing crises that you're dealing with for 100 different reasons, and the 12 different emails I get a day about the heating system, which I do appreciate the information. It also just highlights how overwhelming that particular aspect of this job is currently. So, again, back to what we can talk about and what is within our purview. This seems like a this seems like a very, fiscally responsive budget. This seems very reasonable, and I really do want to commend you and appreciate all your efforts.
You're welcome.
One quick thing. Now, if it goes default budget, isn't default plus 1%, they get to keep 1% every year? Is that a true statement?
I've never heard that.
I've never heard that one. That's a new one on
I
me.
like it, but I've
Yeah.
never heard it.
Stay with that.
Sure, the school really likes the concept, but I've never heard it.
You never heard that before?
No.
I heard that a couple years ago.
Default plus one?
No, I think
Default
what
plus
you might be
one.
thinking about is that we can retain up to 2 point, the town voted before, way before my time, they can retain up to 2.5%, but what Sue mentioned earlier, it's only used for
Emergency.
emergencies,
And it comes from unreserved fund
for
balance.
unreserved fund balance, and otherwise it's returned to the town.
Okay, like I said, this was years ago. Someone told me, I forget who it was on the committee.
That sounds like
stuff.
them.
No.
You can only take
Because it was like 97,000 a couple years ago, they got, and I seen the number somewhere. I questioned it, and I was like, oh, it gets default plus 1%.
No.
So that's not true
Interesting.
then?
I'm not sure who told you that, but that's a
Okay.
new one on me.
I
And this was
wasn't 100%
maybe
sure.
because the teacher contracts they're guaranteed a certain increase year over
Maybe.
year,
Oh,
because that was
that could
included,
be.
but I
Maybe.
don't know.
Maybe.
Could be.
All right, thank you for clearing it up.
I think we'll take it if you want to give it to us.
Don't mind to give, sorry.
Good idea.
So at this point, to try to maybe minimize and not go through all 38 pages of this again, are there any particular items that folks would like to look at?
Do you want to circle back to Sue's question, because Sue asked what this committee is voting on tonight? And it's really just what are we putting forward for the public hearing? And it's just do we agree that this is the budget that should go forward to the public hearing? That's all.
And if we make some changes, we can still make some changes Monday when we meet for the budget hearing, or you
Yeah.
can't?
Correct.
Yeah.
So basically, what we did with the town budget last week is we made a motion that we were comfortable with presenting this as
Okay.
the budget to be discussed at the public hearing. I believe all of the postings, the warrant articles, all of that, now that I'm thinking of this more from last year, I believe that those have a prescriptive prior to town meeting. However, not the public meeting. The public meeting, I believe, only has an agenda technically that it has to have posted 7 days in advance or
Yep.
something
Yeah.
along those lines. But we do try to have all of the information available as far in advance as possible for the public meeting to facilitate the discussions and the conversations.
So
Am
one
I
thing
remembering that correctly?
Yes.
Okay,
But
thank
one
you.
thing I do want to mention that we got clarification on, it's probably not as much of a concern for this budget as it is the town, is that, I was questioning, we can only recommend a budget for the town that's a 4% increase over last year, including warrant articles, right?
Correct.
So my question to Ellen was, well, if we do that, and then there's a change at the deliberative, when we meet after the deliberative, what forces us, or me, or you, to say, okay, the majority has to vote no on this, because it would go up by over 4%?
Oh, that's an interesting question.
So the answer from New Hampshire Municipal Association is there's nothing. What we are to present at deliberative
That's the
cannot be more than
4%.
4%. Beyond that, if the will of the voters at the deliberative is to increase anything, it can't
We
be up
can
over the
still
10%.
vote for that recommendation.
We can still vote for that recommendation.
Oh, okay. That's an interesting distinction. That's great to know.
Yeah.
Thank you for doing the
Good.
research.
Good.
Appreciate
So,
that.
One other thing that I think you guys talked about that I was gonna ask too, and this isn't specific to the school, but when you're figuring out the 4% tax cap, does that, it includes warrant articles, but does it also have to include petition warrant articles?
Yes. As a budget committee?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, it does.
It would encapsulate the whole thing from what I understand.
The school budget isn't legally under the 4%.
No,
No, we're talking about the town.
I'm talking about the town, and
I'm
I'm
sorry.
sorry. Yeah, sorry, I took us off a
I'm
different
learning.
path. But it was, so we have to then, before the public hearing, we have to look at the petition warrant articles as well. And we haven't factored those in yet
Yeah, they haven't come.
to our budget. So we're gonna have to
Do that.
talk
When
about
would
that
those
with
due?
that
I,
hearing.
I thought,
Tuesday at 5, so
I-
we're gonna have them two hours before the public hearing.
my understanding was that the legislative body could not increase it more than 10%.
Correct.
That's
Down the road.
100% true.
Yeah, that's the law, no more than 10%.
Of what we recommend.
Yes.
Correct.
But if we came, if all of a sudden, I don't think this is the case, but if all of a sudden there was, petition warrant articles that came in that totaled $500,000, as a committee, what do? Do we try to adjust so that we're under the 4, or do we just say, we don't recommend these, and so therefore what we're putting forward is still the 4%?
That's what we did last year when we came back and.
Like, you didn't have to do that.
No, but
That's-
to vote on whether we were recommending or not is
Right.
what took place.
But, you understand, right, what I'm saying? And
I
so we're gonna have to have an answer to that before the public hearing of what we're going to do there.
Before town meeting, you mean, not before the public hearing.
Yeah, 'cause we're gonna get the finalized warrant articles at.
Because we're getting them
Tuesday's
at,
meeting, they're due Tuesday at
Well,
5.
for public hearing, though, we have to say what we're putting
Right.
forward. So it is after the public hearing when we vote,
right,
What
at
we
the end of the
recommend.
what we
public.
recommend, that's,
Right.
it does matter.
Yep, you're right, it will.
Yeah.
I see what you're saying now.
Yeah.
I understand, yeah.
So I don't know, is it just a matter of us saying, no, because that would put us over?
I think
Have
we
to
would,
adjust things.
I
Or
think
do
we
we
would
go
be
back and look at
obligated
the
to look
budget
at
and
it. I think you're right.
adjust?
And that's our call, but
Yeah.
So I just-
luckily, not what affects this budget,
No.
fortunately, at the moment. But
No,
I
no,
do
but-
understand and appreciate the
Tuesday's
point.
coming.
We will have to look at it on Tuesday, which
And
is,
do you have any idea how many there are?
No,
Today?
as of Tuesday, there was only 2.
Did they have?
Monday.
Did they have,
No,
tax impact?
I don't think,
Yes.
oh, they did?
Well, no, there were no dollar amount.
No, I don't think so.
There's no dollar?
Yeah, no.
There were no dollar amount.
Okay,
There's, no, yeah, I know there was one that was gonna be submitted for a road, for Stevens Hill Road, but it's also one of the warrant articles that the town did.
Okay,
So I don't know if the petitioner decided to remove that, knowing that it's actually listed in the
Okay.
warrant article.
okay,
You know, but-
okay.
And you know this one's coming in.
And that one's
yeah,
coming, but
with
that's
$10,000, yeah.
$10,000, right, okay.
So here's an ignorant question for me, I should know, but maybe it's more pertinent to schools. Are there petitioned warrant articles for the schools, and when is that due date?
It's the same date. I think the
Still the
14th
Tuesday?
is the last
Yeah.
day for petition warrant articles to be presented to either
Okay, so
either
it's the same for
district.
both, that's why I don't know the two,
Yeah.
because it's only one. Okay, have you seen anything yet come forward? Okay. Excellent.
You have or you haven't?
We have not.
Okay.
So I'm not hearing any specific questions, any specific adjustments or concerns. So if that is the case, I would be willing to entertain a motion to put the budget as presented before the public meeting.
I will second that.
So moved.
Moved by Tim,
Oh,
second
sorry.
by Charlotte.
I
All
leaped
those in
ahead.
favor?
Sorry. Aye.
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 Opposed? None. So
Wow.
passes 9-0.
A little change from
You didn't
last
think
year.
that was coming tonight at all, did you?
Come on, it's only 7:42.
Go home and go to bed.
Don't worry, we got meeting minutes to go over.
No, we don't. No, we
Excellent, we have no meeting minutes to go over. Sorry, this is what happens when I show up late, I can't look at my packet.
Oh, the lines, the pipes.
Wow.
In that case, I will,
Day by day.
Yeah, I do.
Can
CIP.
do.
yes, we have that, subcommittee reports. I was supposed to change that this week, I didn't, apologies. So, the subcommittee reports, item number 7 on the agenda is going to, be reflective of a CIP presentation. So,
Presentation's a little strong.
Presentation.
quick summary and/or discussion?
Dog
Does that make you feel better?
Could you run out and get the slide projector?
Hold on, you need one of the old school
Lady.
ones.
Exactly.
That slide projector.
Yeah, that's true. Oh, you could do the clear sheets, those were
Really
always
dating
popular.
yourself.
Oh, yeah,
Those
the
back in
overhead
day.
transparency.
Yeah,
You're
there you
old.
go. I'm old enough, I know them.
All right, so CIP, we had a really good CIP committee.
Excellent, sorry, I'm gonna cut you off here
Oh, sorry.
because I don't know what paper to have in front of me. Which ones am I looking at?
It was
This
in
one?
the packet, yes.
Okay, so, thank you, everybody, again, appreciate it. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
So, everybody getting on the same page, it is a 2-page stapled together, bold title is Capital Improvement Plan,
Yep.
just to get us all looking at the same thing.
Yep, so, good committee that we had this year. A lot of good discussions. What you'll see here is the first page is our submission for the town report, and then the second one is the plan spreadsheet itself. We decided to take the approach this year in the report to emphasize the value of the CIP and what it is, why we have it, and how people should use it, what they should look at it, and how it differs from the operating budget. And we felt pretty strongly about that because, you know, like, I, for example, have heard people look at the CIP and go, oh my God, there's $4 million worth of projects coming up that we're gonna have to pay taxes on. So we wanted to try and clarify that so that people really understand, and to really understand that this is really a planning tool, right? And it covers 6 years, currently is what, it's supposed to be forward-looking for 6 years. And currently, our policy is that it covers anything that's over $10,000 with an expected lifespan of 3 years. So that's the current criteria we use for something going on the CIP. A lot of this, if you look down, there's nothing, I think, that would be surprising for you guys. We've listed by department what the expenses are and what the funding sources are. You know, look at the school, for example, you'll see the two things that they have for 2025 are the HVAC. We kind of took like air handlers and HVAC stuff and combined it all into one, right? And there's a lot of unknowns there, but as far as like our best guesses, was, you know, we're gonna kind of do that like 300,000, 200,000, 100,000 for the following year. And then the kiln again, which you've seen the warrant article for. So a lot of this stuff hasn't changed, I don't think. One of the biggest changes that we're making in the way that this plan is presented is that very bottom line that you see, and that is the percentage of CIP with net new tax impact. And we think that's fairly important because, you know, stuff that's being funded by the rec revolving fund or something that's being funded by one of the capital reserve funds has already had a tax impact. And so we wanted to make sure that that was clear so that people understand that. So that's there. We tried to list all of the funding sources. Oh, the other thing in a couple of the lines, what we've tried to do is if in particular it's like a bond, anticipated bond payment, then we've used an estimate of 3.5% interest rate amortized over 20 years. And that comes from the New Hampshire Municipal Bond Association or something like that. So we kind of, again, felt it was like not 100% accurate to say like, okay, it's, you know, a school edition is gonna cost us 400 million, not the right number, but just, for example, in 1 year. It's not, it's gonna be spread out over years. So we weren't exactly able to do that in every case, but to the extent that we could, we tried to do that.
Tim, do we have bond counsel that you
Through
review
NHMA.
these things with? It's through NHMA?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's the number that bond counsel recommended?
Exactly.
Okay, got it.
Exactly. So yeah, so I think to me, the most important thing was flagging that net new tax impact. Again, you guys know this, I'll just say it for anybody who's watching it. This is a point-in-time plan, right? And so this is what we believe it to be as of this year, right now. It gets reviewed every year, and so those numbers could shift, they could change, they could be, you know, they could be refined. Some of the things that are on here too, and you might be able to speak to this, Tim, as well, is like, if you look under Public Works and culvert replacement, right now, those numbers are like 800-ish for 26, 27, 28. Those numbers may change when we evaluate them next year because there could be some work that the town can take on.
Yeah.
There could be some work or some grants that might go towards funding those, or with the property, with the work going up on Route 4, some of that could cover some of that. So again, it's kind of like, right now, we think the worst-case scenario might be that those things are gonna cost that much. But when we look at that again next year, it could change, the funding sources could change.
So those worst-case numbers, the 800 and the 850, those are some sort of quote we received or
Those
something
are
from an
made-
outside source?
Yeah, those are, so those three projects are not, I mean, I think the highway department could assist with, but all three of those culverts require engineering.
Okay.
And so it's significant.
Yeah.
It's not
Gotcha.
like.
This is
blowing
not,
a-
when we
it's not
say
like blowing a
culvert.
Beaver dam out of,
Yeah, yeah.
culvert pipe. These are.
Culvert is not a
Yeah.
12-inch pipe running across the
Right.
road. We're
Correct.
talking things that are borderline bridges.
Right.
Right, exactly.
Gotcha.
And then you'll see like in the library, because of, I think we talked about the fact here that with some of the changes that have to be made at the library for ADA compliance over there were some immediate things that could be done, like signage and plans and stuff like that, that can be addressed quickly. We've pushed out to next year, 200K in total for paving and ADA compliance. To push it out to next year, there's gonna be more work that has to be put into that. And again, we don't have a sense of what the highway department may be able to do. So again, next year we'll be saying, okay, is that really 100,000 or is it less? So that's what the plan looks like currently. Again, for people who might be watching, this plan is put together by representatives of the Budget Committee, which is myself, School Board, which is Sue Levinson, Select Board, which was John Decker, Skip Severance, who's Planning Board, and then Charlotte Fife and Jean Reed, who are members of the public. Anyone can participate in the CIP planning that wants to. We did, I think I mentioned this last time, we're going to take it one step further this year. And after, deliberative sessions and everything, we're gonna have another session where we take another look at our approach to CIP planning, right? Because we had conversations like, okay, what should be here and what shouldn't be here? And what do we mean by capital improvement, right? So one of the things that was on here initially that we took off was a $10,000 contribution to the invasive species expendable trust fund. Well, we had conversations, and we said, that's really not a capital improvement, right? Because if you were going to leave that there based on the dollar amount itself, then you would have to include things like the money we put into the reval fund, right?
Yep.
So we made the decision that, we weren't gonna do that, but we wanna go back and have a more thoughtful conversation about what really should we be doing here and what shouldn't we? And also, what the amount should be. So the town has the flexibility of defining what that dollar number is and what the useful life is. So one of the conversations we had was, should it be 10,000 or should it be 20,000, right? What's the right number? So we're gonna, do some homework on that. We're gonna get together, we're gonna have a workshop on it. And then hopefully it will make it easier for subsequent committees to have that guidance, so.
Donna, back to what you're saying, should it be 10, should it be 20? Is there a standard out there?
No, of course not.
Interesting. Okay.
No, and that's why we want to go. Well, what they do, the only thing that I've read is that larger towns might have, or cities would have a higher, whereas smaller towns, 10 might be right. It felt, as we were going through it, it kind of felt low, but,
It does feel low.
So, just because I'm actually doing this right now in Manchester, we don't actually have a financial limit to CIP. That's not how we define our capital improvements. We define our capital improvements as one-time expenditures to physical assets. So we actually define it on a physical, you can touch type of item as opposed to some sort of financial limit. Our financial limits are just based on our procurement code, and that's how we operate to buy things, but it doesn't have anything to do with CIP. So we'll have items in the Manchester CIP that range from $30,000 to $300 million, and nothing about the financial aspect is actually the defining element.
we.
Has much more to do with one time,
Yeah, and useful life.
physical assets.
Yeah, we talked a lot about, for example, if you look under Public Works, the last item, highway equipment capital reserve fund, 70, 100, 100, 100. It's like, should that be listed on the CIP? Because if you think about it, that capital reserve fund is really a funding source. But the number is there because we've said in the past, okay, it's more than 10,000.
Right.
So do you include something that is a contribution to something that's actually a funding source for capital investments?
The other piece of this, and just something that might be worth talking to the auditors at the end of the year, auditors require a capitalization asset number. You have to define your total capital assets as a municipality. It affects your bonding and your bond rating.
I think Ellen's given us that too, yeah.
Yeah, we
So-
Yes, she is, yeah.
So I would say that also speak with your
That's a great
auditors,
idea.
because they really might be interested in
That is a
something
good
you
idea.
don't think of.
That's a great idea.
Yep.
Vehicles don't count, I can tell you that, even if they cost $500,000, because vehicles qualified in the way our auditors in Manchester looked at it as depreciating tools,
Yeah.
or something along those
Yeah.
lines.
Yeah,
But
no,
I
you're right.
believe that that might even be auditor specific. So
Okay.
it might be worth meeting with whoever the independent auditors are that the town hires to just get their feedback.
Great.
That's a really good idea.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is too, in all the years that I've been doing this, it's been like, oh, we have a CIP committee, and it's like, here's your report, oh, great, thank you. And this is really supposed to be a real planning tool, and that's,
And we need that.
and we need
We've
that.
all
That's
decided,
what we
yes.
want to get towards.
Yeah,
No,
I thought it was pretty substantive this year. I mean, we really had some time, we were ahead of the ball.
Yeah.
And we seem to be
Yeah.
committed to going ahead.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We've gotten more CIP reports into this committee than I remember having. So you absolutely have met more than I remember you guys meeting in the past. So it sounds like you've really put some good effort and some thought and some planning into this, so that's excellent. It's really good to hear.
Yeah.
Really appreciate your efforts on that, both Donna and Charlotte, thank you.
Well, Donna particularly took a lead on this, which was great.
Yeah, I got time.
Excellent. Anything else on this that you want to highlight, or does anybody have any questions about the plan, what we're looking at, what we're going forward with?
I have some questions about the school addition funding. Is that proposed, working on an eventual school addition, or what's going on with that?
Yeah, so that got pushed this year, so we had put out a couple of RFPs, which we didn't think met what we were looking for. And then given what was going on with the school, we decided we would pause on an addition at this time to be able to focus on the existing building. But yes, very much so, we still need space. That's why that's still here, but we know it's something that still
Pushed
needs
out to
happen.
2026.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's not something that, it's not even going to be impacting anything financial until at least next year, right?
Correct, there's nothing in the budget for this proposed
Right.
coming years.
Right.
And again, I would say that that's probably one that we'll look at next year and will get refined.
Yeah, yeah.
It have to be voted on,
Exactly,
stuff like that.
exactly, exactly. Yep.
Anything else for Donna?
No?
Thank you.
Thank you, really appreciate this
absolutely love
presentation.
this.
This is awesome.
Yeah,
So nice to
it was a big
see
step forward.
Yeah.
Yeah.
5-6 year outlook.
Yeah.
With that, other business? Next meeting is January 14th, which, big reminder to everybody, that is a Tuesday, not Thursday, which I know causes Bob all sorts of issues.
I'll come here for an hour. That's
Yep.
about the best I can do.
That's usually what it is. We got Charlotte out on time tonight, so she doesn't have to
Thank
skip out
you.
early.
Thank
You're
you.
welcome. And with that, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So
Did
moved.
you guys vote on minutes
I'll
last?
second.
We did minutes
Last week.
Oh, okay.
We don't have any this week.
Yeah.
Motion by Donna to adjourn, second by Jeff. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes unanimously, 7:58.